You know how sometimes you follow a piece of popular advice, something everyone swears by, only to have it completely blow up in your face? Well, one of the best-selling finance books of all time promised wealth to millions, but for one person, it led to absolute financial ruin. Today, we're going to unpack that story.
And that really is the question at the heart of all this. It's a story about a secret that, well, isn't really a secret. It's a lesson that's super easy to hear, but, as we'll see, so much harder to actually understand. So let's meet Sarah. She's 28, working not one, but two jobs, just trying to make ends meet. And like a lot of us, she's dreaming of a life where she doesn't have to constantly worry about money. That's when she finds a book that honestly seems to hold all the answers.
And the message in this book was just so appealing. The idea that the path to wealth wasn't some complicated secret, and that pretty much anyone could follow it. For Sarah, this was a total game changer.
And you can see why she was so drawn in. She wasn't alone. Rich Dad, Poor Dad has sold over 32 million copies all over the world. I mean, with that kind of success, the advice has to be legit, right? The whole book is built around these two totally different ways of thinking. You've got the poor dad mindset, play it safe, get a steady job, save your cash. Then you have the rich dad way, build assets, create cash flow, and use leverage. For Sarah, this was a massive light bulb moment.
So she gets totally inspired by this new philosophy. Sarah decides she's not just going to be someone who reads the book. Nope, she's going to take massive action. She's going to change her life.
And in her mind, the path was crystal clear, almost like a financial cheat code. She'd use other people's money, a loan, to buy a rental property, and then just let her tenants' rent checks pay it all off for her. It seemed foolproof.
So as she's signing the loan papers, she feels this incredible wave of confidence. She's finally doing it. She's thinking like the rich. But maybe there's this tiny little voice in the back of her head wondering, can it really be this easy?
And, well, soon enough, that nagging little question was about to get a very loud and very, very expensive answer.
And for the first few months, it really felt like she'd hit the jackpot. The rent checks were coming in right on time. Sarah felt like a financial genius. The dream was actually happening.
And then it all started to fall apart. First, the heater breaks in the dead of winter. Then the basement floods. Out of nowhere, property taxes shoot up. Then come the urgent contractor bills. And to top it all off, her tenants move out. It was just one disaster after another. In just a few weeks, her entire bank account was wiped out. The dream didn't just collapse, it turned into an absolute financial nightmare. The asset she was so proud of was now a liability, just sucking every last penny she had.
So, in her despair, Sarah starts digging around online, and she finds out she wasn't the only one. Critics had been slamming the book for years, calling its advice vague, even dangerous. And suddenly, her failure didn't feel quite so personal.
But, after the anger started to fade, a new thought popped into her head. What if? What if she had missed something? What if the problem wasn't just the book, but how she had read it?
This was the big breakthrough for Sarah. She realized the book was never meant to be a literal step-by-step instruction manual. It's a collection of parables, simple stories meant to teach you a new way to think about money.
One of the biggest lessons she completely misunderstood was the whole idea of good debt versus bad debt. See, the book encourages using debt to buy things that make you money, right? But Sarah took on that debt without really understanding all the risks that could quickly turn it bad.
And as she reread the book, she found all these warnings that she had totally ignored in her excitement. I mean, the rich dad character himself went broke by rushing into bad deals. The advice was never to just leap blindly. It was to learn, to prepare, to do your homework.
So, armed with this new, more nuanced perspective, Sarah knew she couldn't fix this mess by herself. It was time to stop gambling and actually start building. Her first real step forward wasn't to find another get-rich-quick scheme. It was to admit that she needed help. So she reached out to an old professor, a seasoned investor who could give her real, practical guidance. And together, they came up with a new plan. This one wasn't about getting rich overnight. It was about building a solid, stable financial foundation, just one smart, careful decision at a time. In the end, Sarah came to the same conclusion that a lot of other readers have. The book's real gift isn't a secret formula. It's about changing your mindset to stop being a passive consumer and start thinking like a real investor. Sarah's story really shows us that even the best advice can be dangerous if you don't have the right context and you haven't done the prep work. The map, as they say, is not the territory.
So maybe the next time you get a hot piece of advice, it's worth asking yourself, am I just blindly following a map? Or do I actually understand the territory I'm about to walk into? That answer could make all the difference.